are outraged. But what about the president's supporters? I want to bring in Erin Elmore. You've met her before. She's been on the show. She's a supporter of the president. In fact, volunteered for his campaign. Erin, good to see you, and thanks for agreeing to be on with us today ahead of the long weekend. I'm sure you're trying to get out of Dodge and go enjoy some barbecue. But I did want to talk to you about this. What is your take rather on the tweet to the MSNBC host, and specifically to Mika Brzezinski?
Well, I think Mika and Joe are just lapping this up like a kitten with milk. This is boosting their ratings. And they were supposed to take today off. Well, they didn't, because they needed to be there because the eyes were there. People were tuning in and watching. So this has been nothing but beneficial for them professionally. Having said all of that, the American people elected a president who is a fighter. And this is another example of him fighting. I will also admit, does it bring everyone together? Is it unifying? This is not unifying. But the American people wanted someone that's going to think outside of the box and fight for them. Having also said that,
let me just ask, can I go point by point with you? Because you've actually made some interesting points. You talk about, I want to go back, sorry if I can rewind my mental recorder. You talked about the president being a fighter. You and I both know there's a clean fighter and there's a dirty fighter.
Well, he's been fighting the way that he fights. Whose place is it to call it clean or dirty? It's certainly not mine. But he was doing this during the campaign. This is who he is. He was doing it during his years in The Apprentice.
But he's president
President
now.
Trump is here. President Trump is here to fight for the American people, and and also, you got to realize, Michaela, he is being attacked so hard. He's reached his breaking point, I think. A recent Harvard study came out and showed that some of the media coverage of President Trump's first 100 days was 96% negative. Well, I don't think that's fair in any way, shape, or form. This is just another example of that.
I hear you. But when he's the one that's sending out a tweet like this, which, by the way, is not uplifting and edifying the American public. We're a divided country right now, right? I know you and I both feel this, and I think we're struggling with it, trying to figure out how we as Americans can come together. But when the president, who has the highest office, is belittling and demeaning people in a public forum like that, he's the one that should be really setting the tone for the nation. And I'm not even talking about political disagreements, because you know what? We have a long history in this country of not agreeing on politics, and I don't think we should. I think we should have fair struggles and fair wars. But is he not responsible for setting a tone, an elevated tone for our nation?
He is, and there's so many ways that he is doing that. Focusing on the tweet and calling it the biggest news of the day is really unfair to President Trump as well. He's been meeting with victims and families of Obamacare and victims of illegal immigrants, and trying to really get health care in order, trying to reform our tax code. He's doing so many great things on a daily basis that don't get the coverage that a silly little tweet does. So I think it's also about balance. And if we sit here and analyze this tweet all day long, there are certainly negative things we could look at. Absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt. However, if we look at the bigger picture, President Trump wants to make changes for the American people and make our country great again. And that's what he really wants to do.
So
and
then
one
how
little
about
tweet isn't going to stop him from doing that.
Okay, but then maybe the argument could be made, and I want to see what you think on this real quickly, is so stick with this policy, because as you said, it was a big week for the president. There's a lot going on, travel ban, healthcare. I mean, there's so many things. Why not just stay off the Twitters? Because that is a distraction. You and I both know we live in a Twitter sphere, girl, as much as you and I both hate it. If he could just stay off the Twitter, he wouldn't be, because in a way, he's shooting himself in his own foot, is he not?
People have told President Trump time and time again to stop with the Twitter, but I think, you can't teach a certain kind of dog new tricks, and not that you know what I'm saying.
I think did you? You're trying not to call the president old.
Well, he's older than me, but younger than some. It's all relative. But my point is we can't control him. President Trump is a strong-willed, successful man that has been calling the shots for 30, 40, 50 years. No one is going to stop him and change him. But if we could, we would. And he could just focus on his message and maybe go down in history as one of the best presidents, of the United States.
Well, I got to tell you, I stick to the idea that we as a people need to elevate our tone, and we need the president and the White House to do that as well. And when we start getting down in the trenches like that, that's dangerous territory. Erin, I appreciate having a really engaging conversation with me, and I hope you have lots of barbecue this weekend and get to work on your suntan.
Have a nice weekend yourself. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you, darling. Thanks for joining me.